Hey guys, this is Dr. Colin Zhu, aka the Chef Doc, and we are here on location in Costa Mesa. Beautiful, beautiful Costa Mesa off of 17th Street. We are here at Vibe, and we're gonna go in, we're gonna check the place around, and we're gonna interview the chef owner, Josh, and see what he has cooking up in this kitchen, restaurant, eatery, and seeing what kind of plant-based fare he has going on. So come on. So hey guys, welcome. My name is Dr. Colin Zhu, aka the Chef Doc, and I am in beautiful, beautiful Costa Mesa here at Vive with the chef owner, Josh. And we're gonna be talking about how he came up with this concept 7 years ago. And why don't you introduce to the audience who you are and what is Vive?
So, hey, thank you for having me. Nice to be here. The original Vibe restaurant opened in 2017 in Newport Beach. Small, casual, healthy concept. We now have 3 locations. We're in Costa Mesa, we're in Dana Point, and everything's going great.
Awesome, awesome. And what is the overall mission and vision of Vibe itself?
Our mission at Vibe is to rethink food to live longer, healthier lives. So it's all about serving food that fights disease instead of feeds disease. We're all organic, we're plant-based, we're gluten-free, no refined sugar. We don't fry things. We only cook with either avocado oil or extra virgin olive oil. So we're quite extreme, but we put the food in a very friendly package. It's approachable and it's craveable for everyone, despite there being some deeper things going on with the type of food we're doing here.
So your place opened in 2017, and before you opened, what was going on with the whole landscape of food from a culinary perspective, from food itself? You know, what were you seeing that you thought to yourself, you know what, this makes sense to, go in this direction? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you're classically trained, right? You worked in a lot of, restaurants yourself. What did you see that you propelled you to create this?
Great question. I think what it came down to is I was noticing a huge disconnect between the way a lot of people were eating and shopping at home versus the type of way and the type of food they were serving in restaurants. So I think, there's a lot of us that at home haven't bought canola oil in years and would never dream of using vegetable oil and only buy organic produce and things like that. But then when you go to a restaurant, you're willing to turn your back on all that. You're willing to have a meal that's saturated with seed oils, loaded up with sugar, salt. The goal of most restaurants is to buy something for as cheap as possible, do something to it, and then sell it for as much as possible. Unless the word organic is baked into the top line, it's very easy to if there's 2 boxes of tomatoes that both taste relatively similar, and one costs 30 and one costs 90, over the course of a year, it's very difficult for a restaurant that doesn't have organic in the top line to be justifying buying the best quality stuff. They're willing to buy cheaper stuff and pass it off because it's in the name of profit. Vibe, we're doing it a bit different. It's important to serve the best ingredients no matter what. We always joke that if there's a more expensive, slower way to do something, that's the way we want to be doing things. And we really want to just serve the cleanest, healthiest stuff, no chemicals. Like I said, food that fights disease instead of feeding disease. I'm very passionate about the connection between what you put in you and what you get out of you, so to speak. And it's funny because our bodies are amazing, and you can put in a bunch of bad fuel for years and years and years and get away with it, and then one day you might have to service your body a little more, or your body might not even start one day. I think nowadays it's so much more important to put in premium fuel from the beginning. And if you put in the best fuel day in, day out, you can stack the odds in your favor against some of these killer chronic diseases. You can live a longer, healthier, better life. You can be mobile, and you can think clearer, and you can be more productive. We say good food, good mood here, and that's kind of indicative of everything we're trying to do.
Did you have your own personal story that you had to fight through or know of someone that had to fight a chronic disease, that kind of added towards this overall mission for yourself? Or was it just seeing the current landscape and seeing these customers come in and, we fight a lot of obesity, right? 40% of us are, very, very obese. 70% of us are, very overweight. Heart disease, number one killer in our, country. Was it something personal for you, or you were just seeing, and there's a connection between, food and health? Because as a chef, you're thinking about from a culinary perspective, how is it presented? How does it taste? What are the, different ingredients put together, right? As opposed to that connection with health. So it's very, very interesting how you link those two together.
I think there were a couple pivotal moments when that caused me to understand this connection between food and disease. The first thing I was exposed to was how a plant-based diet can definitely stack the odds in your favor when it comes to fighting cancer. So through some friends and family when I was younger, it was something that I was exposed to. And there was no question that once I understood this idea of don't put chemicals inside of your body, essentially, everything kind of started to fall into place. There's another connection, the idea of heart disease, plant-based diets and heart disease, which is something that runs in our family, potentially. So when you start to learn more about that, the idea of eating less meat or even eating no meat is certainly the most effective diet when it comes to preventing heart disease. And again, that was something I was very aware of. And those are things that made me more passionate to want to highlight this type of food, because it's all very well and good saying, eat this, eat that, do all this, follow a very extreme regimen. But at the end of the day, unless the food is, first of all, it has to be craveable and delicious, but it has to be approachable. So it has to be food that we're familiar with. No one wants to all of a sudden say, you can't eat this, this, and this for the rest of your life. You only have to eat, a bowl of raw veggies. That's unrealistic and that's boring. So what I think of as my role is, how can I take this culinary point of view and put everything in a package that is friendly and approachable for people that don't even realize this is the way they want to be eating yet. And one of my goals is I want to make the vegan, healthy version of something just as good, if not better, than the traditional version of something. And ultimately, until we've achieved that, it's going to be a hard sell long term, getting people to understand this type of food. I don't want people to say, oh, that's pretty good for a vegan taco. I want people to say, oh my God, that's an amazing taco. And given a choice of which taco, this is actually the one I'd rather eat. And that's what motivates me.
Yeah. From a culinary perspective, just to kind of add on that, what do you think are the main difficulties for your customers to not eat more plants and to, like you said, almost have to reframe how you look at plant food at the end of the day and not just think, oh, if I want to eat more plants, I'm just going to immediately think of a salad and think that, oh, it's just rabbit food and I don't want to touch that. So from a culinary perspective, can you share a little bit of how you've elevated that fare for us?
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest challenge with the regular American consumer is that we're mentally addicted to what our plate should look like. It should have meat, it should have some kind of starchy carby thing, and it should have a sauce and maybe a bit of veggies. Once you take the meat away, you have so much more time to be able to put into making vegetables taste good. Instead of them being an afterthought where it's like, oh, we're spending all of our time doing a bunch of meat. Oh, now we need a little veg. Let's just steam the veg real fast and put them on the plate. Or let's just saute some greens and put them on the plate. When you take away, when the veggies move to the center of the plate, you can showcase them a lot more. You can use different techniques to achieve texture. So something that we like doing here is we like playing around with dehydrated components in dishes. We like to use the same ingredient in more than one way in each dish to reinforce the flavor and the texture of each thing. So, for example, kale, we like to have some steamed sauteed kale, but then we'll crumble some kale chips on top, which reinforces the flavor and the texture. And ultimately, it's kind of funny because as a chef, when you're cooking meat and when you get used to cooking meat, it's like an artist using the same 5 colors over and over and over. And it's great. Those are proven colors. When you take the meat away and now all of a sudden you're looking at the abundance from the plant world, you now have 50 different colors to play with. Different spices, seasonings. We're very into using things like citrus to season dishes. Not just using salt to season. You can season with citrus, you can season with chilies and different types of heat. So we love playing around with that. We also love playing around with fermentation. From a health perspective, it's fantastic. I think if you look, maybe one of the areas that things have gone wrong for us over the past 50, 60 years as a society is we're eating dead food. Historically, almost every culture has had a type of fermented staple in their diet, whether it be kimchi in Korea, whether it be types of kombuchas in Japan, sake, koji, soy sauce, even things like that. In Europe, there's sauerkraut in Eastern Europe, things like that. Now, as a modern society, we've totally gone away from that. And it was very common in Eastern Europe. You would grow up with a basement and you'd have a bunch of fermented cabbage down there. You know, and you'd go and you'd get a scoop and bring it up at dinner time, and everyone would have something living and alive with their food. That's something we've got away from. I love the flavors that fermenting can bring to a dish. The depth and the complexity of dishes are increased exponentially when you're using something like that. And then coupled with the health benefits, it's a no-brainer. So in almost every single dish on our menu here, you'll find a fermented component.
What is your favorite dish on the menu, and what is the most popular dish so far?
My favorite thing...
Or are you not allowed to say it?
I can pick favorites. The thing I eat the most are breakfast tacos, which we call the early bird tacos. They're amazing. Homemade organic corn tortillas. Something that's unique is we infuse the tortillas with either a shot of turmeric juice or a shot of beet juice. Gives them a really cool, vibrant color, and it also adds a nutritional component, which we like. The filling of the tacos is a cauliflower scramble, homemade mushroom chorizo, which is made with mushrooms and pumpkin seeds. It's fantastic. Guacamole. Our sauces are mostly cashew based, so we use like a cashew lime crema in that. Add some pickled onions on top. They're fantastic. The thing I'm enjoying the most right now are our wraps, which are relatively new for us. We launched them a couple months ago. Very, very popular. I would probably have to say the miso broccoli wrap if you were making me pick a favorite. Again, miso, we like the fermented flavors. Broccoli is probably my favorite vegetable, if I have to pick a favorite.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit opposite than, the vegetable of America.
And then the sauce is a spicy almond butter sauce, which is unbelievable. So that really makes that wrap for me.
Awesome,
yeah.
Awesome. Give me a play-by-play.
Man knows how to read a taco, dog.
He's eating some in his life.
Next time.
It's a real burst of flavors. Now, like in the front end, it's citrus, a lot of contrast in textures. The tortilla is actually really moist and soft. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be like harder or something.
Yep. Yeah, it's really tender and delicate.
A great meaty texture. It's got a lot of umami in there.
So other words you want to have?
Excellent. Really good. Just to put it very simply, it's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah.
So, in an ideal world, right, what would you like to see in the future? In 3 to 5 years, if you had a paintbrush, right, we're talking a little bit about canvases, right? You had a magic, wand, and I say, Chef Josh, in an ideal world, what would you like to see in the future for customers?
I think the thing I would like to see is an understanding that you don't have to be vegan to eat a vegan meal. And I think what I mean by that is it's not necessarily a black and white thing. I think people put unrealistic expectations on themselves to I'm going from eating meat every meal of every day to not eating meat at all. And that's a drastic change. And you might be all in for a couple of weeks, and then you might cheat and slip back to your old ways, and then you think, oh my God, I have to have meat with every meal again. I would like to see more of an understanding with the general population that we don't need meat with every meal for it to be a full meal. Ultimately, I think if people eat less meat as a society, I always say I'm not necessarily anti-meat. I'm anti-factory farming. And
which is 99% of this country.
Which is, yes. And I want people to understand that we don't need bacon and eggs for breakfast every day, and we don't need turkey for lunch every day, and we don't need steak for dinner every night. I think if we even go back to a more historical time as humans, as cavemen, so to speak, we weren't just going to the grocery store and eating meat 3 meals a day every day. We were hunting, and if we were lucky, we were going to catch something, and we might feast, but then the next 2 weeks we might fail and have to go and eat fruits, nuts, seeds again. And I want people to connect with that approach a little more. And I think there's a little bit of a stigma still in the public that you have to be vegan to come to a vegan restaurant. And that's really not the case. So anyone, no matter what your diet looks like, can enjoy a meal here. And I'm sure of it. I see it happen every single day. And that's something I really want to push more and more on the mainstream, that you don't need meat with every meal for it to be a full meal. And I think maybe that's something that I'm well positioned to show, because going back to what I was saying before, if I can make the vegan version of something taste even better than the regular version of something, as a society, we're going to naturally gravitate towards it. It's not going to have to be such a hard sell and such a extreme transition. So that's what motivates me here. I want to make quite extreme food very approachable for everyone.
What would you like to say to your culinary, brethren, whether from a school perspective, right? Yeah. Because traditionally, conventionally, it's, dominant, right? Animal-based, fat, sugar, dairy, right? Classic French. What would you like to see change? What would you like to see to your, say to your colleagues, can we be a little bit more open-minded and curious, because not just focusing on the movement and trend, but something bigger and something more sustainable?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is get rid of all the shitty oils, or get rid of all the bad oils. Every single restaurant, for the most part, across the whole country is using essentially industrial motor oil as their base. Obviously for frying, but it goes beyond just frying. It's for salad dressings, it's for sauces. It's for cooking, sauteing, and cooking proteins.
And it's coating the natural flavors and essence of plant foods,
Yep. So this step number one, there's really bad oil. It's an epidemic. It's finally getting some daylight in the mainstream, which I like, but that's first and foremost. I think the second thing is, as chefs, we have a responsibility, and there's no greater responsibility than preparing something and giving something to someone that is going to go inside of their body. Yes, we have a responsibility to make the food taste great, and ultimately that's what people are coming to buy. But we have a responsibility to nurture our guests and to make them healthier and happier and better, not to make them sicker and weaker. And so we have a responsibility. And I understand that there's a lot of financial pressure on a lot of restaurants. It's very difficult to make decisions that involve more expensive ingredients. As a public, we demand more food for less money. And ultimately, that trickles down to the restaurants, where they just want to buy the cheapest, the ingredient that they can get the most of for the cheapest. So as the public, we have to get used to not demanding more food for less quality is more food for less price just equals worse quality. So as a public, we have to understand that we have to invest in our health every time we eat out, especially. And as chefs, we have a responsibility to not just buy something that's as the cheapest, lowest grade thing we can get our hands on and dress it up and then sell it, for a profit. We have a responsibility to buy things that are, first of all, are safe long term, but things that are beneficial. Yeah, our big food system, there's companies like Cisco running most of the restaurants in the country, and it's causing a lot of problems.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're about to conclude. Any last words that you want to say for people that are watching? Any words of encouragement in terms of home, in terms of how you would rethink food?
Yeah. Firstly, I would say I hope to see you all at Vibe at some point soon. We have 3 locations in Orange County, and we'll hopefully be growing up towards LA next year. So we're very excited about that. We're open 7 days a week, 8 to 8. Another thing I would like to say is that I think, and this is counterintuitive to coming to the restaurant, but I think people do need to start cooking at home more. And people need to start caring enough about what they're putting in their body that they want to take the time to cook and not see it as a chore and not see it like, I don't have time to cook, I'll just go and eat something fast. We should care enough about what we're putting in us to set aside the time. You should want to know what's going in your food. So that's something that I'm a big advocate for, is people need to cook at home more. We need to care enough about what's going in us that we want to be obsessed with what's going in everything that we eat. When you go to restaurants, for the most part, you're willing to turn a blind eye to a lot of those things. And I want people to take more responsibility and to care enough about what they're doing and what they're eating, that they take the time and set the time aside to cook at home. So yeah.
Awesome. Guys, we're here at Vibe. This is Chef Josh, and he's doing big things. Definitely come by to his Costa Mesa location, Dana Point, and Newport, right?
Yep.
And in the future, hopefully LA and beyond.
That's what's next.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you for having us, and keep up with the good work, all right? All right.
So here we have the makings of our early bird tacos. Starts with homemade tortillas. You can see one of the tortillas has a little bit of beet juice. The other one has some fresh turmeric juice in it. Gives the tortillas a really fun color, but it also boosts the nutritional profile, which we like. Rosa is cooking the filling, which is comprised of our cauliflower scramble and our homemade mushroom chorizo. We love that. It's loaded with protein. There's lots of pumpkin seeds in it.
And chorizo, not, from meat.
Not from meat, from mushrooms. Exactly.
I love the fact that you're using beetroot, especially for the color, but
Yep.
there's so much nutrition
That's-
goes into that.
The goal of every single thing here is literally just to pack as much nutrition into everything as possible. So I'm gonna start to assemble now. Stuff the tacos. Beautiful. Go really close in.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, fresh pico de gallo. Make it every morning. This is our cashew lime crema. So, essentially, I'll take on like a sour cream, but it's cashew based as opposed to being dairy based. We're gonna hit it with a nice scoop of guacamole. Again, make it every morning. It's gonna get a couple pickled onions on top for some brightness and acidity. And then we're gonna hit it with some chives. Maybe some hemp seeds if we're feeling fancy.
Ah, yes. Gracias.
Perfect. All right, there's your breakfast.
Excellent. All right, hold on.
So this is good breakfast, lunch, dinner, late at night.
Any time of day. Oh, I'm excited. These look great. Cheers. Really good.
The crema, the guacamole is so fresh. It's so fresh. It's so good. It's so good. I eat this all day long.
Yeah.
Guys, come down here and get these tacos.
Not so much.